tonight. Just another golden day at the Paralympics.
Another world record.
Shane Warne hopes to fight back on Boxing Day. And a windy worry for Gary McCoy.
On the Red Bull Yamaha.
Hello, I'm Matthew White. Welcome to the 1 hour show where tonight we'll devote our second half hour to finding you a winner at the weekend's races. Of course, it's Cox Plate time, one of the great races on the turfing calendar. And not many punters are willing to tip against Sunline. A special racing wrap later in the show. Also, the Yankees repeat the World Series. And Friday night is when we learn to laugh at ourselves and others in the plays of the week.
Ah, yes, even knows how to play the fans. Look at that.
First up, Australia's women's wheelchair basketball team has broken through for its first Paralympic medal. It wasn't the gold they dreamed of, but the Gliders were up against a team that doesn't know how to lose.
For 8 years, Canada has dominated international competition, unbeaten at both the Paralympics and World Championships. Their class showing midway through the first half, keeping the Australians scoreless for 5 minutes.
Shot clock down to 8. Conlon fires and hits.
The Canadians on a 15-4 scoring run, going to half-time with a 23-13 lead. The Gliders coming back from the break with promise.
Carter along the baseline.
Yes!
Liesl Tesh giving her team some hope of a fight back, but the Canadians proved it's hard to break a winning habit. On the harbour, sailors were doing a double take, but the Mermaids' loyalties didn't affect the Australian sonar crew. Noel Robbins, Jamie Dunross and Graham Martin taking the gold. And our cycling team's gold medal tally reached 10. Mark Laflowick, a 13-second winner in the tricycle time trial. Peter Homan taking the 20k event. At the track, a 4th gold medal for Tim Sullivan in the T38 400 metres event for athletes with cerebral palsy.
The time 50.31, another world record.
Sullivan taking more than 2 seconds off the old mark. His success following an emotional afternoon for Australia's track and field team. 5 times Paralympian John Eden announcing his retirement. The 45-year-old says the Paralympics saved his life after he lost his leg in a motorbike accident.
And I just thought life was finished. I didn't know where to go, what to do. And I had a couple of years on what I call pity lane, self-pity lane, where the drugs and alcohol were my best mates, and I really didn't think I'd be where I am today.
Last night, Eden's autistic teammate Lisa Lorenz leapt her way to the podium, a 3rd gold medal for the athlete who's inspired by big cats.
I relate really well to animals. That's why I think of myself as a cheetah, and they're such magnificent animals. I would hate to see them go.
A golden hat-trick too for Greg Smith, this time in the wheelchair 1500 metres, and he's still got the marathon to come. And last night at the Aquatic Centre, another milestone for Canberra teenager Siobhan Payton, equalling the record for the greatest haul of gold medals at a single Games.
5 gold medals to Siobhan Payton at a new world record. 2 minutes 14.
And the silver medal from the basketball takes Australia's overall tally to 124 now. The final score, Canada 46, Australia 27. Among today's other Australian winners, Julie Higgins with her 2nd equestrian gold. So add one more to that. Shane Warne is looking at a comeback Christmas this year, hoping to return to Test cricket on Boxing Day. Warne has confirmed his broken finger will keep him out of the first 3 tests against the Windies.
It looks so simple. A regulation catch at first slip to dismiss Test teammate Mark Waugh that went oh so wrong.
Should have caught it better than I did. It was just something, one of those things that just happened, I suppose. It's hazards of cricket. It's obviously very disappointing just the way it happened, but I didn't just break it either. I've obviously done a bit more than just a little break.
It continues a miserable run for Warne, stripped of the vice-captaincy earlier this year after a phone sex scandal in England and a horror stretch of injuries which have seen his shoulder reconstructed and knee surgery last month. Another appointment with the surgeon will be set following stumps tomorrow night to repair the top knuckle on his shattered ring finger.
With my football and cricket and everything, I never usually had any injuries for the first 10 years of my sporting career. The last 3 or 4 I've had a lot. So I've got 10 fingers. It just happened to be the spinning finger, the one I've already had an operation on. So, you know, everything happens for a reason. Sometimes it's pretty hard to find out what that reason is.
It's in civil terms, it's not a bad fracture. The problem is that it's in Shane's spinning finger, and he's a professional cricketer.
The best case scenario now for Australia's leading wicket taker, a return for the 4th test at the MCG on Boxing Day.
The Boxing Day test match would be the return, hopefully, but we'll just have to wait and see how it heals, and as I said before, see how it responds to treatment.
If he comes back from this a better bowler, then it's a great credit to him, so it's a real challenge for him now.
The injury opening the door for War's New South Wales teammate Stuart McGill to get back into the test team for the Windies tour, starting on November 23 in Brisbane.
Yes, and with Warne injured, New South Wales leg spinner Stewie McGill turned on the pressure to be picked with some timely wickets against Victoria. He claimed 3 for 34 today. The Vicks are in trouble at 6 for 140, 110 runs behind the Blues' first innings. Earlier, Colin Miller raised the selection stakes. He grabbed 4 for 71. In Brisbane, the Tigers are in a strong position at stumps on day 2 of their match against Queensland. The highlight of Tasmania's innings, was Ricky Ponting's double century.
Ponting picked up where he left off, taunting the Queensland attack. But his partners were having less luck. Dykes falling victim to Bickle with just 9 added to the overnight tally. Klingeleffer falling to the same fate, becoming Bickle's 250th first-class scalp. That just hardened Ponting's resolve, flying well past his highest tally of 211. But partnerships continue to be a problem as Dale claims Saker for just 4. Ponting following suit on 233 with a contentious direct hit from Andrew Simons in the field. With no third umpire, Tony McQuillan forced to adjudicate from the non-striker's end. Matthew Anderson wrapping up the Tigers' innings on 403. Matt Hayden started Queensland's dig in typical style with a quick-fire 41. Before becoming Saker's first victim. Jimmy Maher also out short of the 50 milestone, tempted by Wright. Simon smashed his way to 49 with a pair of towering sixes, but he was stopped short by Marsh. Then Wright started to collapse, seeing Law on his way, and clean bowling second. The Bulls still 145 runs short with just 4 wickets in hand.
At stumps, the Bulls 6 for 258 and struggling for first innings points, but that scoreboard has Ricky Ponting hovering all over it. His highest first-class score, 233. In Adelaide, the Warriors continued their attack on the Redbacks bowlers on day 2 of their Pura Cup game. The hard-hitting intensified when Adam Gilchrist came to the crease. He blasted a century in a session. Now, his ton came off just 95 balls, beating teammate Damien Martin to triple figures, despite the fact that Martin had a 58-run head start. WA declared with 480 on the board. In reply, South Australia struggling, 5 for 133 at the end of the day. And the Redbacks still need another 198 runs to avoid the follow-on Dietz with 60, Lehman 38. WA paceman Matthew Nicholson picked up 2 wickets in the last over before stumps. And the cricketing Bible, Wisden, has named Steve Waugh the Cricketer of the Year. Fittingly, Waugh was presented the award by last year's winner and New South Wales teammate Glenn McGrath. In a history-making 12 months for the national team, Waugh says the honour is more about team than personal achievement.
I had some good performances there and a couple of big hundreds, but a few low scores in between. But I was pleased with the way the team went, and I guess I was pleased with the captaincy, so perhaps that counted in the overall vote.
Stay with us after the break on Sports Tonight, qualifying for the 500s at Phillip Island. 3 times he's blown the rest of the field away this season, but today Gary McCoy was blown away by the wind at the island.
It's on the rainbow Yamaha cam. They were watching the Gary McCoy, who had just gone to provisional pole, and he crashes out.
Opening qualifying from the 500s is next. And one-on-one with swimming ace Matt Welsh. Welcome back. The first day of qualifying at Phillip Island, and the weather was the one to beat. High winds hampered the opening session. Australia's 500cc star Gary McCoy blown off course.
The gloomy outlook brought light rain early in qualifying, but just as the track began drying out, strong winds began playing havoc with the field. Australian hope Gary McCoy, the first victim.
On the Red Bull Yamaha team, they were watching the Gary McCoy, who had just gone to provisional pole, and he crashes out.
McCoy, who's earned a reputation for his daredevil riding style, was helpless as the heavy gusts sent his Yamaha into a high-speed slide 12 minutes into the session.
It's quite easy to do down there, and in winds like this, it's pretty hard, you know. Well, it's very well expected.
The Aussie back in their saddle straight away, but could only manage 12th fastest ahead of tomorrow's final qualifying. Defending world champion Alex Creville also had a problem with the wind at turn 1.
The breeze blowing across from the right of screen to the left of screen, and there can see he just couldn't get it around.
Australian legend Mick Doohan, pit lane advisor for Italian Valentino Rossi, who charged up to third quickest aboard next season's brand new Honda. Up front, recently crowned world champion Kenny Roberts Jr. held provisional pole before Brazilian Alex Barros pounced.
Barros takes pole, Roberts couldn't match him.
Earlier, another spectacular dismount. This time, Roberto Locatelli was doing somersaults. Thankfully, he's already wrapped up the 125cc world title.
And Billy Woods and the team are at the island for Network 10's complete race coverage right across the weekend. Starts tomorrow afternoon and a full day Sunday. Please check your guides for the times there. The Wallabies tour of Japan and Europe has received a setback. Winger Ben Tune is returning home after being forced out with injury.
Ben Tune will be out until next year's Super 12, the talented winger failing to complete the Wallabies' first training session in Japan.
He trained particularly well at Coffs Harbour and was recuperating after every session, but when he came over here, the first session he had, he's broken down.
The Queenslander aggravated the injured right ankle, which sidelined him for most of the year.
With all these important games throughout the year, I desperately wanted to be a part of them, and I guess, you know, after losing my test spot, I really wanted to try to regain that test spot. So, you know, we did push it a little bit harder than probably we should have, but, you know, I was happy to do that, and unfortunately, I guess I'm paying a bit of a price for it now, and the fact that I have to go home from this tour.
Tune's departure takes the tally of World Cup champions unavailable for the tour to 9. But the squad has been buoyed by an official welcome from Japanese Prime Minister Yoshiro Mori, who used to play rugby himself. It's the first time that a serving Japanese Prime Minister has visited the Australian Embassy in Tokyo. The Wallabies play at Japanese President's 15 tomorrow before flying to Europe for test matches against France, Scotland and England.
Don't expect too many fireworks in the NBL tomorrow night when the Kings play the 36ers and Shane Heal takes the court against Brett Maher. Maher was given only minimal time at the Olympics and later claimed that he wouldn't play again under Barry Barnes. Statements that at the time upset a few boomers, including Heal. Now, Hammer fueled the situation by yesterday challenging Maher to take him on, but today more diplomatic.
My comments in the Sydney press were putting the fire out a little bit, saying we really don't match up against each other. I'll probably play on Brett, but he doesn't usually play on me.
Just one game in tonight's NBL. The Hawks too good for the Titans in a close one. Wollongong by 7 points. Melvin Thomas top scored with 31 points. National Soccer League and the Kings thrashed the Newcastle Breakers tonight in Auckland. The 5-1 victory has pushed the Kings to the top of the ladder at the start of round 3. In tonight's other game, Parramatta at home in a comfortable win over Brisbane. Well, some good news for the Women's National Basketball League, with the Melbourne Tigers putting together a financial rescue package to stay in the competition. They still haven't released details of a new sponsor, but the Tigers have been given the go-ahead by the WNBL.
2 days ago, players and those close to the Melbourne Tigers were in tears of what they assumed would be the end of an era for women's basketball. But at the last minute, a white knight has come forward with a rescue package which will see the Tigers resume their place in the WNBL.
Melbourne Tigers obviously had a contact come forward, and that's come to fruition, and they've put what I understand to be a very good package together for them for this season, and it's all steam ahead.
An official announcement and details of the new sponsor is expected on the weekend. Ironically, the league was also on the verge of announcing plans for a US-funded team to take the place of the Tigers in Melbourne.
We've obviously had to tell them the news about Melbourne Tigers. They're very happy for us, a little bit disappointed because they had certainly put a lot of effort and some funding in place ready to underwrite a Melbourne team. It wouldn't have been called Melbourne Tigers. And obviously we were sort of preparing that announcement when Melbourne Tigers came to us.
Well, first it was silver at the Olympics, then a short course world record to back it up. By now, you should definitely know that Matt Welsh is one hell of a swimmer. But it seems we didn't know that Welsh wasn't always destined for life in the fast lanes.
Well, thanks, Matt. And joining us is one of Australian swimming's unique stories. Matt Welsh took up swimming when he was 18, and 5 years later, he's won 3 Olympic medals and owns a world record. Matt, why did you take up swimming at an age where most people are retiring?
Well, I guess it wasn't really part of the plan. I just took up swimming to fill in a bit of time. I joined a lot of sports, a lot of clubs to keep myself entertained. But since then, swimming has taken off, and it's taken me all the way to the Olympics.
Look, you focused on backstroke, which really isn't one of the strokes that Aussie kids seem to focus on. Why take up backstroke?
I started off with butterfly. I had a very good leg base from all my land-based sports, and my kick in the butterfly was very strong, and that kept me going. But seeing the level of competition that I had in front of me, when everyone had such good upper body strength, I thought I'd change over to backstroke, which was part of my training program anyway. So my backstroke times got faster and faster, and it became very clear to me that when I started making Australian teams in backstroke rather than butterfly, that I should continue and do some more work in backstroke, and it's taken me here.
Well, it certainly paid off, not just at the Olympics, but at the recent short course titles in Melbourne. You broke the world record in the 200 metres. How hard was it to focus on that so soon after the Olympics, where you dealt with all the hype from the Sydney Games?
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge, but it was probably the best thing for me. A lot of people were suffering from post-Olympics depression, as they like to call it, and the best thing for me was just to get back in the pool, get some training done, keep in touch with the water.
Paralympians are winning a lot of gold in the pool at the moment. Have you been watching, especially Siobhan Patton, who's been outstanding with 5 gold?
Yeah, absolutely. I've sent off a few hero faxes to them and said, good luck to you all, and swim well, especially for the backstrokers. So hopefully they're knowing that we're all watching them and doing very well, obviously.
Just finally, Athens 2004 seems a long way away, but how are you preparing for that, in your mind at least?
Yeah, it does seem like a long way away, and to me it really is. Thinking back to 96, the amount of things that have happened to me from 96, when Sydney was announced as the host city for the 2000 Games, I wasn't even swimming. So a lot of things have happened since then, and then 96, and then 2000. So 2004 is a lot of time to make up the ground that I've got to make up, and to learn a few more lessons that I guess I need to learn, and hopefully come away with a few more medals at Athens.
Make sure you stick around. Coming up next, the World Series, where at least half of New York is celebrating.
It's beautiful. New York, baby. Yankees rule, baby. Woo!
International sport covering soccer, basketball and golf.
Another birdie. So 3 in a row.
And remember, later we'll preview the Cox Plate with the complete Sports Tonight Turf Talk.
As I crunch and show, as the sweet breeze blows.
Welcome back. Forget about being the best in the city. The New York Yankees are the best in baseball by a long shot. The Yanks wrapped up the Subway Series against the Mets, winning Game 5 4-2. It's their 3rd straight World Series, the first team to three-peat in almost 25 years.
The Yankees stepped out in enemy territory for Game 5, looking for a quick start, and got it thanks to Bernie Williams.
Well hit into left field. Down the left field line. It is gone. A home run.
But, as has been the pattern through all 5 games, the Mets hit back, with some help from the Yankees infield. The Mets scored 2 quick runs to reignite the faith of the home crowd and led the game 2-1. The underdogs threw everything at the champions without success. Finally, it was Series MVP Derek Jeter opening up the shoulders to level the game in powerful style.
It's a 2-2 game.
Mets pitcher Al Leiter was looming as the hero, but then in the 9th and final innings, journeyman Luis Sojo stepped up for the Yankees and wrote himself into the history books. Slugger Mike Piazza had the last crack at levelling the game, but came up short. The players and half the city heading into party mode.
For the 3rd time in a row, 4th time in 5 years, and 26th time in franchise history, they are
And that win has triggered both celebrations and commiserations across New York.
With this catch, the Yankees secured their third consecutive World Series title and started unstoppable parties across the Bronx. New York is known as the city that never sleeps, and Yankees fans are determined to see it live up to the reputation. The players also joined in.
This is better than ever, you know, because all year we were counted out. You guys are too old. Y'all aren't playing good enough. But you know what? What'd you say? This is champions. That's right. Yeah!
For some Mets fans, it was all a little too much to deal with, but some managed to articulate their emotions.
I am damn proud of the Mets. They played with their hearts on their sleeves, and you know what? I am damn proud of them. Win or lose, I am damn proud of the Mets.
It might be an early night for the Mets, but their crosstown rivals are sure to be going for a while again.
On to tennis, and Leighton Hewitt is through to the quarterfinals of the Swiss Indoor Championships. The tournament's third seed slugging it out off the baseline against Sweden's Andreas Vinciguerra, taking the first set 6-3. Hewitt wrapped up the match in straight sets, grabbing the second 7-5. He's aiming for his 5th title of the season. Tiger Woods is set to become the first player to win $10 million in a season. These days, it's a matter of more achievements and records. A 9-under par 63 has him tied for the lead in the National Car Rental Classic.
Tremendous
Meanwhile,
history.
at the Italian Open, Welshman Bradley Dredge went agonisingly close to an ace.
Nearly, very nearly, getting a hole-in-one under 14s.
Excited, weren't they? A day of frustration for Liverpool striker Robbie Fowler in the UEFA Cup match against Czech Republic side Slovan Liberec. Fowler couldn't buy a goal. This time, Emil Heskey's pass goes to waste. And things got even worse in the second half when Fowler fluffed one from the penalty spot. The Anfield faithful had to wait until the 87th minute for the breakthrough. Heskey giving the side an unimpressive 1-0 win. The NBA preseason continues. Detroit taking on Minnesota as they complete their preparations. The Pistons fired to an early lead, holding a 6-point margin at the half, but a 12-point turnaround in the third quarter saw the T-Wolves take back the lead, which they held to the end. Kevin Garnett sealing the victory. This is Sports Tonight. The plays of the week are still to come, but after the break, our Friday night racing special. Our team of experts will be with you shortly.
They make legends in this race.
Crusher places into weak point immortality.
Names forever etched in the history of the turf.
Tangle wins the Cox Plate ahead to Mahogany.
The Cox Plate has crowned kings
Right off, Gibson down, robbing them.
and conquerors
Might and power, the big champ joins the greats of the turf.
and queens.
Sunlight will hold on and win all the way.
Tomorrow we find out if history repeats.
It's billed as the greatest 2 minutes in sport, the BMW Cox Plate. If the Kiwi steam engine Sunline can repeat her heroics of 12 months ago, well, tomorrow will be something of a coronation. For the Queen of the Turf will be crowned as the greatest race mare of all time. To do that, she'll have to beat the best field assembled since 1992, with superimposed saluted, and that's the way it should be for the Weight for Age Championship of Australasia. As we look ahead to the Cox Plate, I'm again joined by Matthew Stewart from the Herald Sun. Welcome, Matty.
Thanks, Jared.
I'll play the horse whisperer today. Look, it really is a mighty challenge for Sunline.
I think this is the biggest challenge she's yet faced in her career. There's outside her, there's 28 Group 1 winners, some of which have been set exclusively for this race last year. They weren't last year. Tie the Knot, Sky Heights, two great examples, and they're the two greatest dangers to her tomorrow. She's got to overcome a rain-affected track and run out a strong 2,000 metres. All those factors combined mean that she will have to be every bit as good as we think she is to win the race again this year.
It will be a keen betting race. Alan Iskander, he's had Sunline at a short quote for at least 6 weeks. I doubt that has changed in the lead-up. This is the way I've lined them up for the BMW Cox Plate tomorrow at Moonee Valley. I've gone 6-1 with Tie the Knot, a little bit of the forgotten horse here with a great chance. 13-4 Sky Heights, been from 4s into 13-4, a lot of money for it. 100-1 The Message, 50-1 Referral, gone 25s on Oliver Twist, 15-1 Scoozy Please, gone 12-1 Testarossa on a dry track, I think she'll be a little bit shorter. Gone 9-1 Shogun Lodge, again on a dry track, I think you get 6-1 Shogun. Gone 12-1 Diatribe, 5-4 Sunline, clearly the horse to beat, a lot of money for it. Gone 125-1 Beat the Fade, 25-1 Show a Heart, and 40-1 Fubu.
Much of the hype in the lead-up has settled on the battle for the lead. Will Sky Heights take on Sunline and pour the pressure on a long way from home? It certainly inspires memories of another Cox Plate. I'm sure you'll remember 1986.
But our Waverley Star, he got a half length of Bone Crusher. He's gone for the whip on Bone Crusher. 3 lengths to Drought, followed then by Diggy, Flyer and Drawn. But the two great New Zealanders have come away on the turn. Our Waverley Star, a half length Bone Crusher. The big red won't give in. Drought running on. Bone Crusher responds to the whip. The roars of the crowd. He races up to our Waverley Star. 100 out. Bone Crusher, our Waverley Star. Stride for stride. Nothing in it. Our Waverley Star, the round, Bone Crusher the outside, and Bone Crusher races into equine immortality.
Well, Matty, it's no wonder that's called the race of the century.
In a way, it was the race that put the Cox Plate on the world, certainly on the Australasian map and on the world map. It still remains, I think, the greatest contest I've ever seen, and I think most people that were there that day, even those who weren't, would remember it as the greatest tussle we've ever seen on a racecourse in Australia.
There is a real chance that tomorrow might provide something similar with Sunline and Sky Heights. Would you agree with that?
I agree with it, and certainly Glenn Boss does. At a press conference today, he certainly didn't hold back when revealing his tactics. The eyeball-to-eyeball that you mentioned, that's exactly what he intends to do, providing Sky Heights can get away from the gates, and that's the proviso. If Sky Heights doesn't get away, all those plans go out the window, but he's certainly not going to let Sunline get too far away.
She won't be 2 lengths in front of me having an easy run, I'll give you the tip. That's as plain and simple as I can put it. She won't be having a soft run in front, because if there's a kink in her armour, I think it might be at the 2000. I know she's got a great record round the valley. He's only had the one run round the valley, my horse. But I think this is the type of horse that can really stick it to any horse over 2,000 metres, whether it be Sunline, Tie the Knot, Shogun Lodge, Testarossa, all those good horses in the race.
And Shogun Lodge has got a brilliant turn of foot. And to show that turn of foot that he possesses, he's got to have a good track to do it.
In your heart, do you rate him a real winning chance?
Yes, I do, yes. You know, it's a luck plays a big part of it as well, but yeah, I think he's one of the ones that can win, yes.
If Dean Lawson's right, Testarossa's owner John Capellan, well, he's promised to kiss the backside of his horse, and I'm sure we'll see scenes reminiscent of Nick Moratis when Martin Power won.
It's a daunting prospect, isn't it? Big John Capellan planning his kisses on Testarossa's backside. I don't think it'll be necessary, though, because I really don't think, unless there's major carnage in the race, that Testarossa can win. I just doubt him with the weight conditions this year as a 4-year-old, that he's really good enough to beat Sunline at Sky Heights.
Now, one horse who won't care what the track is Sunline, the favourite. Look, she's unbeaten here in 4 runs, and just as we talk through this, we'll show you a couple of those, including the Moonee Valley Oaks, the Manicato and the Fian. She's unbeaten in the wet. She is definitely deserving of her favouritism.
There's no doubt she's been favourite from the moment the markets opened about 2 or 3 months ago for the Cox Plate. She's just a great racehorse. There's no doubt about that. She's won the Cox Plate before. Having said that, this is her acid test. As wonderful as her career has been, this is the acid test for her. There's no doubt about that. As we said earlier, there's horses that have been exclusively set for this race this year that weren't last year. There's enough against her to suggest she's vulnerable, but on top of that, she's the best mare we've ever seen.
Well, let's go back and relive her Cox Plate glory of 12 months ago.
Sunline 3 in front, Tie the Knot wearing her down. Sunline in front, Tie the Knot ducks in, and New Zealand takes the Cox Plate with Sunline.
She's been fantastic mare all the way through. There's only been once that she hasn't earned a check, so you can't take anything away from her. She is one of the best around.
She's a mare that